Hi, it's Kira at 6 o'clock in the morning. I woke up like 2 hours ago, been laying there, doing nothing, haven't even brushed my hair, haven't brushed my teeth, and I thought, let's make a video. Work's been manic, so every video I've filmed, I haven't edited, and it never came up. I hate that you can see my reflection here, horrible. But I'm going to talk through every single book I read between November 2020 and January 2021. So I might be here for a while. So I'm just going to get straight into it. This is completely unplanned. I've just got my Goodreads open, so I'm going to be flicking between the tabs, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully something. If you're watching at like another time, hi. If you're watching today, happy Valentine's Day. I don't have a Valentine, naturally, so lonely bitch. So basically, the first book I read in November was Feed by Mario Grant. This was a book that ran over from October. I gave this I gave it 2 stars. My apologies. It was absolutely not a zombie book, despite being marketed as one. The zombies are just like background characters to this one woman and her brother who do things in the apocalypse, et al. Then I read With the Witches by Roald Dahl. I gave this 4 stars. The review I left for this on Goodreads says iconic, a true horror. Honestly, probably the scariest book I've read in those couple of months. A true horror, really. Then I read Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I gave this 5 stars. I absolutely loved this book. By far one of the favourite books I read in 2020. It was great. The review I left for this one says, take your nerd cake and eat it. So I'm a natural born reviewer, if you didn't realise. And then in November, I read The Harpy by Megan Hunter. Gave this 2 stars. Was not a fan of this book at all. I got it from my library. That's fun. It was kind of confusing, but I got it, but it was confusing to kind of go through that process, and it just wasn't for me at all. It was literary fiction, I believe, and it kind of started nowhere and went nowhere, so I was kind of like, what's the point in this? I've got an itchy nose now. I'm like scratching my nose on a live video. We love to see it. Then I read, this was the start of Galleothon. This is how far back we're going. Galleothon, miss you. Forgot your names there. Miss you, Brooke and Connor. That was nice of me. I forgot your names now. Oh dear. See you in March. So the first book I read for Galleothon was Outraged, Why Everyone is Shouting and No One is Talking by Ashley Dottie Charles, who is a radio DJ. I gave this 3 stars. This is a non-fiction. I was really apprehensive about going into this book, apparently, according to my review. And it talks about being outraged online and whether we're using our public voices correctly and etc. I put that this book is a really short read, and I think those few pages are used really well. So, I can't remember what I read 4 months ago. I'm just blagging it here. Then I read How to Be Ace, a memoir of growing up asexual, which is a graphic novel. These are all the things that I edit out when I'm editing. So you just have to deal with like the sniveling, me like making mistakes and just staring into space. So How to Be Ace is an insight. I'll give it 4 stars. My apologies. It's an insightful look into what it's like to be asexual by talking about the main character's OCD, apparently. I liked how this book spoke about many different sexualities and was very open-minded. It was dealt with in a beautiful way, and the art style is really lovely, simple but effective. And I just had a really positive reading experience with this graphic novel. I'm losing my mind. I'm never going live again. I'm never doing this again. Then I read the Book of Queer Prophets, 21 Writers on Sexuality and Religion, which is curated by Ruth Hunt, but obviously there's 21 writers. I gave this 4 stars. I'm really glad I got the opportunity to read this book, and I'm honestly just in awe of all these authors and their stories. I think this book could be so incredibly valuable to an LGBTQ plus audience who feel as though they don't fit into their religious communities. It's so important for there to be more of their own voices stories out there. That's what I wrote in my review. There you go. Then I read This Magnificent Dappled Sea by David Biro. I'm not sure if it's Biro or like Biro. But I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I remember a little bit about this book. I own it up there somewhere on that top row. It is such a beautiful piece of writing. Every word is selected so perfectly in this beautiful, heartwarming and heartbreaking story. There you go. Then I read Love Unscripted by Owen Nichols. I gave this 4 stars. I remember reading this book because I tweeted about it, and then I followed the author just after, and then he liked the tweet, and I was like, hello, creepy. I put the backdrop of cinema to this story. Ugh, bliss, chef's kiss, okay, hand emoji, bless, the perfect mix of cinema and story, beautiful, top class, A+. I thought a lot about this. The book didn't blow me away. It's still beautiful and worthy of a 4-star. The cinema references just sold the book for me. And apparently I wrote at the end of my review, don't mind me whilst I go and watch In Bruges. Thanks a lot. I didn't watch it. I was gonna, but then I was like, can't be bothered. My attitude is sour. Right, next. We've got a couple more for... Oh, I'm yawning now. I'm yawning in a live. Jesus. Note to self. Don't do it at 6 o'clock in the morning, you maniac. Then I read The Glamour Boys, The Secret Story of the Rebels Who Fought for Britain to Defeat Hitler by Chris Bryant. I gave this 4 stars. Prior to this book, I had no knowledge of the Glamour Boys, as they are named. Very... basically about some... They're called the Glamour Boys because most of them were gay during the war, which obviously this name is questionable now, but yeah. I just like to hear new things about war. So there you go. Then I read Head Over Heels by Hannah Orenstein. I gave this 4 stars also. This book was really unfortunately set. It's set in the run-up to the 2020 Olympics, but which obviously didn't happen. But obviously the author didn't know it was going to happen when she wrote it. I've never read a romance book that's set alongside like an Olympian. This is about gymnastics, I believe. And I really like that. I've read a book from Hannah Orenstein before, and I really like that she incorporates more serious things into her kind of fluffy romance novels. And I like that a lot. I do like that a lot. Then we have White's on Reason of the Falsehoods by Ortega Awagba. This I gave 4 stars. I originally gave it 5 stars and then I changed my mind. This is like a short essay style thing that talks about racism in 2020 following the death of George Floyd and the protests and mass outrage. I thought it was really interesting. You can see all these reviews on my Goodreads. I don't need to talk through them all. But it was quite deep about white allyship and whether people are actively being allies or they're just saying so in public and then just kind of ignoring it in their private life. So very interesting. And then I read The Winter Garden by Heidi Swain. Give this 3 stars. I read this for a book tour. So I can't see the review unless I go on Instagram. So it was like a fun read, and I'm 100% in love with the male MC in this book. Would 100% want him to be my future husband. But apart from that, nothing special. Then I read I Want to Be Where the Normal People Are by Rachel Bloom. I gave this 4 stars. I didn't really know anything about Rachel Bloom before I read this book, but I loved it. It was great. I wouldn't have picked it up if I hadn't got it on NetGalley. So NetGalley doing things for me. And I'm very interested in eventually getting to watch Crazy Ex-Girlfriend because she stars and wrote that. So I want to get there eventually. Don't worry, we're getting towards the end of November. We've been here 10 minutes. Then I read Harrow Lake by Kat Ellis. This was the monthly book for the Book Thieves Book Club. The review I wrote said, I don't actually think that this is a 5-star book, but it was a 5-star reading experience for me, which I 100% agree with still. But the atmosphere and when I was reading it, I was really, really creeped out. So I had to. Like, it gave me real heebie-jeebies more than any horror I've ever read has. So I think it was well deserved. Then I read Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This is a book I've been meaning to get to for like 6 years. I gave this one 3 stars. It felt a lot like a setup for the rest of the series, but I wanted to continue. I did continue, spoiler alert. Yeah, but it just kind of felt very basically like it was setting up an entire series, so there wasn't that much to it itself. It didn't stand on its own, basically. Then, I know about it again. My apologies. Then I read Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is his second book in the Brown Sisters series. Now I'm thirsty. Look, I didn't even bother with a drink. I just got a fat-ass bottle of Dr. Pepper Zero. Now you've got to watch me drink it. Watch me spill it all over myself like an idiot. Hello, it is I, the thirst gremlin. Okay, Kira. Yeah, I gave this 4 stars. I thought it was way better than the first. Currently reading the third in February, so we'll see about that. I love the relationship dynamic, and I'm kind of into the fake dating trend at the minute. I don't know. Maybe it's like symbiotic. I need a fake boyfriend, please. It's Valentine's Day. Get me a fake boyfriend. Then I read Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. The review I left this just says, nice. I gave it 4 stars. It was a really interesting kind of self-help book compared to like a biography. It was like a memoir self-help guide, which was really interesting. It was really different to anything I've ever read, like a celebrity memoir-ish type thing, and it was very kind of motivating. Well, she's just kind of reading about his life, but he's motivating you. It's very, very strange, but I really enjoyed it, so there we go. Then the very last book I read in November was Passing by Nella Larson. I have 3 stars. I can't really remember anything about this. This is a classic. The review I wrote was just very interesting. That's literally all I wrote, very interesting. So very useful for future Kira doing a wrap-up, right? From what I remember, I did enjoy this book, but it was quite a short one. But I enjoyed the kind of race aspects, but everything else was kind of like straight over my head. Straight over my head. That's what you get for working with idiots. I'm the idiot. Right, we're going to November. No, we're not. We're going to December. See, I'm snivelling again. I do this all the time in my videos. I'm like, disgusting. And now you get to see it. I might do every video live from now on. So, let's get back to where we're supposed to be. The first book I read in December was House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be. Brooke from Brooks Books was like, read it now for the entire year since it came out. So I did that. I got the audiobook from my library and finally got there. It took me a while to get through this book. Like, I think there were some moments where it was like pure waffle. There was nothing going on. But I did enjoy it. And I will definitely be picking up the second one when it comes out this year, potentially. Then the second book I only read 9 books in December, so you don't have to live with me that long. And the second book I read in December was Animal Farm by George Orwell. Gave this 5 stars. Naturally, love this book. Read it about 1,500 times. It's by far the best Orwell book. I own about 600 copies of it too. So that's all I've got to say about that. If you haven't read it, read it. Did you just hear my stomach grumble? I hope not. It's like 6 a.m. Jeez. Then I read The Kiss... The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. I gave this 4 stars. I thought it was a really interesting book. The review I left was, I don't get why this book has an average rating under 4 stars, because I actually loved it so much. It's 3.88, so it's not awful. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed the romance. There was like some steamy bits. It's basically about this woman with Asperger's, potentially. I can't remember that much. I apologise. She's definitely on the spectrum. I remember that. And basically she hires this male prostitute to teach her how to be good at sex, because she's had really bad experiences in the past. And obviously, naturally, like any love story, they fall in love. So, yeah, there you go. Then I read A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I gave this 4 stars. This was the December book for the Book Thieves Book Club. I really enjoyed this. It felt really nostalgic from when I was in like school and stuff. I listened to the audiobook with like Derek Jacobi and other celebrities, so it was a really fun experience to listen to as well. And it felt very wholesome and Christmassy. Then we have we do. Sorry, as I skipped one. No Time Like the Future, An Optimist Considers Morality by Michael J. Fox. I gave this 4 stars. This was such an interesting book. This also took me a little bit of time to get through. For quite a short book. But I love Michael J. Fox. Like, what an icon. My review for this one just says, "What a beautiful man." So, I reviewed that well. I hope he sees that. He's a beautiful man. And then I read Not That Bad, Dispatches from Rape Culture by Roxane Gay. I gave this 4 stars. I originally gave this 5 stars and downgraded it to a 4 star. My review says 5-star content, 4 star for the editing and cohesiveness of this book, because basically it's edited by Roxane Gay and it's a lot of different stories about rape culture. And I enjoyed all of them, all the stories, but the book and like the editing was kind of all over the place. And the book was kind of just like a jumble of stories rather than having any kind of flow to it. So it was kind of questionable, but it's definitely worth reading. Then we have The Island by C.L. Taylor. I wrote a review of this on my blog. Self-promo. What are we saying? Yeah, I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this book. It wasn't quite what I expected, but I'm really naive, and like the ending really threw me off. Like, I didn't think it was going to be who it was. It's like a mystery thriller YA, which was really interesting, because I don't read that many thrillers, never mind like YA thrillers. So I really liked this one. Then I read The 12 Dates of Christmas by Jenny Bayliss. This also took me a while to read. I started it way before Christmas, and I finished it on the December 29th, apparently. I gave this 3 stars. I wrote in my review that I've got such mixed feelings about this book because I really wanted to love it as a light-hearted, heartwarming Christmassy romance, but I just wasn't hooked on it at all. I wasn't. I thought this book just felt ridiculously predictable. It felt like the author was spelling out all of the potential twists before they happened, not clues, but full-blown obvious remarks. So there you go. If this idiot can predict it, anybody can. Oh, no. I hate myself. I wish I'd left more cohesive reviews at the time. I'm going to consider that in the future and probably just write like 2-word reviews again. So the very last book I read in December was on the 30th of December. I was trying to squeeze in a little book before the end of the month because I hadn't read that much that month. So that was Pet by Awake Ameze. I absolutely adored this book, and I added all of their other books to my wish list once I'd read this one because I just needed more. I think I also tweeted about how nice it is to find a new author and already have their backlist ready and not having to wait for a new book because this book's so good. I don't give 5 stars away like nobody's business, or this would have been a 5-star. I'm going to give it 5 stars now. I'm going to do it because it stuck with me ever since I read it because I fucking loved it so much. Basically, it's about this trans girl kind of discovering herself, dealing with the people around her, her family, and also there's this pet who comes out of this painting who tells her that someone near her is being hurt. And I want to reread this book now. Might do it. Gonna do it. The review I left for it just says, "Holy moly, that's a good book." So, that means something. Right, we're going to go to January at last. I'm going to get some recent stuff. Hopefully I'll be able to remember anything I read this month. So let's go. The first book I read in January was Battle Royale by Kushan Takami. I gave this 3 stars. The review I wrote said I didn't really see the hype behind this one, and I didn't. The average rating is 4.16. I haven't heard a bad thing about this book from anyone that I know, but I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't see what was so special about it. I know it inspired like Hunger Games and stuff like that. I enjoyed the concept, but I just thought it was really long and slow and kind of boring and just didn't deserve my time, quite frankly. And then I binge reread the Wayward Children series, ready for the new one to come out. So I read Every Heart a Doorway, which I bumped up from 3 stars to 4 stars when I read this one. I put that I love this series. It's a great introduction to some of the main characters of following books. And then Down Among the Sticks and Bones, that's number 2. I bumped it up from 4 stars to 5 stars. I finally gave this book 5 stars. It well and truly deserves. Don't even know what I was thinking the first time round. Then we have Beneath the Sugar Sky, number 3. Second read, IDK, why I keep underrating these books, changed to a solid 4 stars from a 3 star. Number 4 is In an Absent Dream. This, I bumped that up to a 4 star. I love the Goblin Market in those ones. I love it. Then number 5, Come Tumbling Down. I bumped up to 4 stars as well. It says a lot about me. I was like, oh, I don't love this series the first time around, but I did. And then I reread it and I'm like, oh, why didn't I do this the first time? So yeah, those are all by Shauna McGuire, by the way. I didn't mention that. And then I read the new one, which is called Across the Green Grass Fields. Gave it 3 stars. The review I left said, IDK about this one, which I don't know about this one. I don't know how I feel. I'm still kind of processing emotions because I'm so excited for this one. And then it was like a horse girl, but it's a horse. Basically, that's the review I'd give it without spoiling. So maybe I'll read this next year when the next one comes out and bump it up to 4 stars. Who knows? Then I read The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Mackesy. I got this from NetGalley as an audio copy. I gave this 4 stars. I've been curious about this book for like a while because it's been such a good seller for like a children's book. And then the audiobook was on NetGalley, so I was like, I'll give it a go. And it was literally the most wholesome thing I've ever heard in my life. Ever. So there you go. Then I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by Rita Schwab. Give this 5 stars. The review I left just says, I'm obsessed. I really did. I loved this book so much. I loved it. Obsessed with it. Basically, this girl, Addie LaRue, makes a deal with the devil for more time. But the only problem is that nobody can remember her. So, dun dun dun, what's going to happen? A lot goes on. It's quite a slow book, but it also is fantastic. Then I read If Cats Disappeared from the World by Genki Karamura. I give this 4 stars. I didn't even bother to write a review of this one, apparently. But this book was so fucking sad. Sad. I tell you, saddest book I've ever read in my life. I got it under the impression it was about cats. There's a cat in it. It's not about cats. I was sorely disappointed of the lack of cats, but also the cat in it did a great job. I think I'm losing my mind. But yes. I really enjoyed this book so much. It was like, I think it was the first book this year that's made me cry because I just felt it. Like in my heart, I felt it real deep. So there you go. And then I read City of Glass, which is number 3 in the Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. Gave this 3 stars. I don't know why I keep continuing with this series. I'm just hoping for like a miracle or something. Because the first 2 books were really garbage. And people keep saying the next set of books are really good. But do I want to stick around enough to find out? Because The review I wrote for this says the second half of this one was mildly interesting because hate's a strong word. I dislike Cassandra Clare's writing style, and she tries to write these like action scenes, but they're garbage. So maybe there's just no action in the other books. Maybe she overcomes this. I don't know. I'm going to continue anyway because everyone keeps telling me to, and I'm a sucker for pressure. I'm being peer pressured here. Then I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Tales from the Cafe by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I gave this 4 stars. The review I wrote for this book says, don't read this book if you're emotionally unstable. I am distraught, which I still am when I think about this book. This book just gave me so much. I can't even think about it without getting sad. It was so good. The first one, I thought, the second one's not going to stand up to this. Of course it did. It is. I want more Tales from the Cafe. Give me more tales. Then I read The Thief by Fuminori Nakamura. I was looking for Japanese literature because I've been really enjoying Japanese literature recently, and then I just kind of did a Google, and this was the first one. It was like most popular Japanese translated, so I read it. It's quite short. I gave it 4 stars. The average rating is 3.51, so obviously I enjoyed it more than others. The review I left says chaotic in the best way. I thought this was like a really interesting look at kind of homelessness and kind of urban life in Japan. It basically deals with this guy who is a thief, and he goes through a lot. There's a kid who also wants to steal things, so that's fun. And he gets kind of involved in some bigger stuff that he probably shouldn't, and his friends do, and it's very chaotic. Then we have Heiress Apparently by Deanna Moore. I gave this 4 stars also. I got this from NetGalley. I thought this was really interesting. It was like a young adult take on Crazy Rich Asians, but better. I wrote a review on my blog also for this. Yeah, I thought it was written really well as well, and it really flowed nicely, and it was a nice romance, and we love a romance in this house. Then we have Freshwater by Awaki Amaze. Basically, the review for this says that the author is a fucking talent, because it's very true. This book made me want to scream multiple times. Their writing style just messes with my head so much. It's so intense and deep and kind of slow, but also fast and chaotic, and I love it so much. I think I've only got one of their books left to read in the backlist, perhaps, but I'm going to read it. I believe they've done some kind of short things for other places. I don't know. I'm going to read everything that they put out ever, so don't worry, there'll be more. Then I read Luster by Raven Lalani. I gave this 4 stars. The review I left was, this book was pure chef's kiss. This is like a young adult. No, it's not a young adult. It's about a young adult. It's an adult book. It's about a young woman who is basically having sex with this grown man who's married and has children. A child, I think, not multiple. But his wife agrees with it. Like, his wife basically says, go and have sex with somebody else. And then it's very kind of intense, and she comes to live with the family while he's away, and like a lot happens, but also nothing happens. And I was kind of here for this one. Like, I usually don't really like literary fiction, but this I was here for. Then I read Party of Two by Jasmine Guillory. I love Jasmine Guillory, but I only gave this one a 3 stars. It was kind of disappointing compared to Jasmine's other books. I put, for me, she's like Talia Hibbert's American counterpart, both of which write fantastic romance stories and great smut. I put that it felt quite flat, and I liked the male character, but the female character was quite flat, and there was a lot of overthinking that went on in this book, and I wasn't here for it. Then I read Sid Meier's memoir. It's Sid Meier's memoir, A Life in Computer Games. Gave this 4 stars. Loved it. Been meaning to read this for the longest time. The review just says, the absolute king of gaming. I love Sid Meier's Civilization. I love him. I read this book, and he's an angel, and he's so precious, and I want to wrap him in bubble wrap, basically. That's how we feel about that. Oh no, I opened the drawer. My apologies. Then I read The Deep by River Solomon. I really was like David Diggs, a few other people. I can't remember. It just says River Solomon here. The review I left says, so much to unpack here, so beautiful and sad. Give this 4 stars. 4 stars. This was about mermaids, which are pregnant African slaves who were thrown overboard during the slave trade when they were taken from country to country via boat. And they were thrown overboard and they had babies under the water that were mermaids. So, yes. I'm doing none of these books justice. I apologise, but you should read every single one I mentioned. Unless I hated it, then don't bother. And then the last book I read in January, you're finally getting rid of me, is The Last Wish, which is 0.5 in the Witcher series by Andrzej Sapkowski, potentially. I'm so bad with names. The review I put was, oh, I do care how I feel about this, but I'm a continue. Basically, I read this because I want to watch the TV show. I don't always read the book before the show, but I was kind of interested, and I was like, this looks complicated, so I'm going to read the book first. And I'm glad I did. I haven't started the show yet, but I'm glad I did. So hopefully I'll start that soon. I'm going to continue with this series at some point. I only own the first one at current time, but we'll get there, okay? We'll get there. So I give that 3 stars, by the way. So that is all the books that I read between November and January. There was like 40 or something, I don't know. There's quite a few, but I hope you enjoyed this. I'm sorry that it's so long. Probably never do it again because I need editing skills to get rid of this jumble. But thank you very much for watching. If you stayed until the end, you deserve a gold medal. And I will see you next time. Bye.